Hi friends, Krista here. Thanks for stopping by Books and Jams. I am here today to share with you my haul from my Booktube Besties weekend that I just had recently. I'm wearing my shirt I received from Amanda. Her and her mother created these shirts for us. It says, "I closed my book to hang out with my besties," and I love it so much. I love it so much. I think my total when we added everything up, when we had all our books on the table, I think my total was about 32 books. And so that's what I have here to share with you. 2 of them I'm not going to share because they are gifts for other people, but those 2 are included in this total as well. I think I'll start with kind of the non-bookish things that I have, and then the 2 that were gifted to me from our meetup. And then I'll just dive right into the books that I have. First of all, though, I wanted to share with you, Amanda from the Curly Reader has an Etsy shop where she creates and sells bookmarks, and she has made a fall collection, and she brought one of each of them for us, which was so kind of her. 2 of them are strictly fall, and then 3 are not straight fall bookmarks, but let me just show you them. This one says "Falling Leaves and Good Books, Please." It's just kind of a cream color with brown leaves and books on it. It's really cute. Then we have this fall plaid, and it says, "Fall makes me want to weep in a wrap up in a blanket and get lost in a good book." Love that one. Then we have a Ted Lasso quote here that says, "Fairy tales do not start, nor do they end at the darkest forest," by Ted Lasso. Just kind of a pretty watercolor scene there. I love this one with a dark green background. This is a John Green quote that says, "Reading forces you to be quiet in a world that no longer makes place for that." Love that one. And then this final one that says, "If anyone needs me, I'll be reading. Please don't need me." And it just has these kind of fallish colors on it. I will link Amanda's shop down below. And if you're interested in any of these, they will all be on her Etsy shop. I did receive one more bookmark. This is from Nancy. One of our subscribers sent them to, I believe, Amanda, and she handed them out to us. And it's just kind of this cool art that Nancy did, and I love that. So Nancy, thank you so much for that bookmark. Gotta love coming home with some more bookmarks. That's really fun. And then I got one more bookmark that was gifted to me along with 2 books from Sarah, who is one of the girls who showed up at our meetup that we did in Madison on Saturday of our trip. And so sweet, she bought me 2 of the Vanderbeeker books. These were on my wish list on Amazon. So these were ones that I didn't yet have, Lost and Found and Make-A-Wish, which is book 5. And actually someone else also just sent me book 5, but Sarah did leave the gift receipt in here, so I may pick up another middle grade book that's in a series that I'm collecting. But thank you, Sarah, so much. I love the Vanderbeeker series. I actually did just read Make-A-Wish. I listened to it on audio in September for a series September. Now I'm all caught up in the series, and now I own all 5 that are out right now. So I'm very happy about that. But along with those 2 books that she kindly gave me, she gave me this bookmark, which is an erasable pen bookmark. It lays flat, which is super cool because then you can put it in your book as a bookmark, but also use it to underline or highlight or mark things up if you wanted to. And it's erasable, which is super fun. So thank you so much, Sarah. That was very sweet of you to bring us little gifts. It was a treat. It was a treat to just meet you, let alone be gifted a book by you. So kind. The other 2 non-bookish items that I have are this magnet that says "I like books." I'm going to put this on my recommendations cart because that is magnetic. So I'll put that on my cart. And then I found this game at a thrift store that we went to, St. Vincent de Paul. And it's in its packaging still. It's kind of like a puzzle game. I think there are many, many different ways that it could be put together, like 2,000 something. There are 64 tiles in here that look like, that are square like that, but just with different parts shaded in, and you have to match them all up. And there are many different ways to put it together. So it's kind of like a puzzle, but I just loved that it was still in its package and it was small enough to fit in my suitcase to come home. I would have loved bringing some puzzles home, but I did not have the room. So those are the non-bookish items. And now we will dive right in to my haul. I have 3 books that I paid full price for, and then everything else I got at a discount at one of the used bookstores or thrift stores that we went to. So the first one I'll show you is on my October TBR, Shady Hollow by Juno Black. It's a mystery where all of the main characters, all of the characters are woodland creatures, are animals like a fox and a mole and things like that. So I've heard really, really good things about this. And I had been waiting on the wait list at my library for, I don't know, 6 or 7 weeks and still haven't picked it up yet. So I still haven't gotten it. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to buy it because it's super cute. It was a patron pick. One of my patrons recommended this to me and I picked it out of the jar over the summer and I still haven't read it. So it's going on my October TBR now that I own it. And I'm so happy that I chose to get that one. I picked up a historical fiction by Christina McMorris, who is an author that I really like. I have a bunch of other books by her as well. This one's a bit of a chunker. It's pretty big. How many? Ooh, there's pictures. Oh man, there's pictures of the back, which is pretty cool. So this one is a World War II novel inspired by true events about an illusionist. A little girl raised amid the hardships of Michigan's copper country, Fenna Voss learned to focus on her own survival. That ability sustains her even now as the Second World War rages into faraway countries. She performs on stage as the assistant to an unruly escape artist. Behind the curtain, she's the mastermind of their act. Ultimately, controlling her surroundings and eluding traps of every kind helps her keep a lingering trauma at bay. So I'm excited about that. I love that it's based on true events and thrilled to have another Christina McMorris book on my shelves. I got this one from Mystery to Me, and they gave me a bookmark as well. That's the name of the bookstore. Cute. Madison. Oh, I love that it even says Madison, Wisconsin. Very cool. Excited about that. And then the other book that I purchased from an indie bookstore is called 50 Words for Rain by Asha Lemmy. I think I heard about this first on the Currently Reading podcast. This one takes place in Japan in 1948, and I believe we're going to follow a young girl who is the child of her Japanese mother and an African-American GI lover. Nori is an outsider from birth. Her skin is darker than those around her, and her grandparents take her in only to conceal her, fearful of a stain on the royal pedigree that they are desperate to uphold in a changing Japan. So they hide her in the attic and force her to do all of these chemical things to her skin to try to lighten it. But then she learns she has a half-brother and she begins to bond with him, and the grandparents are not very happy about that. It just sounds like a very interesting story. And I heard really good things about it on the Currently Reading podcast. So 50 Words for Rain. I've never heard anyone else on Booktube talk about it that I can remember, but I'm excited for that story. It sounds pretty harrowing. Yikes. Let's do my nonfiction stack next. I did pick up 6 nonfiction books. So we have Irenas Children by Tilar J. Mazzeo. This is the Young Readers edition. Irena Sendler was kind of labeled the female Oscar Schindler. She was a Polish woman who helped rescue Jewish children out of the Polish ghettos and kind of adopt them out or foster them out into families around Poland. Over 2,500 children she saved during one of the worst times in modern history. I've read another book about her, Things in a Jar, or Names in a Jar, or things in, yeah, something like that, because she wrote down all the names of the kids that she saved and buried them in a jar in her backyard. So I'm really excited to read this Young Readers edition of her story. I think it is important and such a good story. Picked up a foodie memoir, Ruth Reichel's Tender at the Bone. I had heard quite a few people talk about Ruth Reichel, but I've never read anything by her. And this is just a food memoir. Growing up at the table. There are a few recipes sprinkled throughout here, and I love food. So I'm just excited to try a food memoir. I don't know that I've ever read a straight food memoir before, but looking forward to that. My mom loves this author, Kathy Glass. This is called A Long Way from Home, and Kathy Glass is a woman who has fostered many, many, many children, and she has, for over 25 years, she's been a part of the foster care system and has been a carer to more than 150 children. And so she has written a couple books that tell some of the stories of the kids that she has been able to care for. And my mom has said they're all tearjerkers and really hard to read at times, but so, so good. So this is a name that I know. Kathy Glass is a name that I know because of my mother. So she was thrilled that I found one of those. Armanda pushed this one into my hands. The Girl with Seven Names, Escape from North Korea by Hyun Seo Lee. I did read In Order to Live, which is another memoir of someone who escapes from North Korea. So I'm looking forward to another story. I think it's not a very common, there's not very many books written about life in North Korea and escape, especially. But this one, she escapes to China in 1997 when she's 17 years old. So I'm looking forward to reading her story. And then I picked up Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. I feel like I should listen to this because he has such a distinct voice, and I believe he reads the audiobook. But I heard a few people say that they did enjoy this. I like having it in print as well because there are pictures. It's kind of set up really cool. There are pictures of notes and like actual pictures in here as well. So it might be fun to partner the book with the audiobook. I like the way that this is set up though. So I'm excited to have that. Read a kind of a celebrity memoir. And then I was very excited to find The Warmth of Other Suns by Isabel Wilkerson. I've heard such high praise for this book. I do have Cast on my shelves as well, which is her next book. But in particular, I've heard a lot of really good things about this one, which just tells the epic story of America's Great Migration, of when African Americans moved from the South up to the North. And I've just heard such praise for it that I really want to read it. Katie from Life Between Words in particular, I remember when she read this and loved it. So I was very thrilled to find a copy of it. I almost bought it in one of the Indy bookstores and I chose to get something else instead. And then I found it at one of the used bookstores and I was very excited. It was a good deal. So yay for that one. Let's do my pile of middle grade next. I have quite a few middle grade books here. So let me just go through pretty quickly. I picked up The Well by Mildred D. Taylor. This is one of the ones in the Logan family series that I didn't own yet. Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry, I think is book 4 in that series. And I think there are 6 or 7 of them. So I would love to have the whole thing and be able to read the whole thing through. I grabbed Front Desk by Kelly Yang. I have read this before and I really enjoyed it. I don't think I'm going to continue with the rest of the series. I believe there are 2 or 3 more in the series now, but I did really enjoy this first one. So I picked that one up at a used bookstore. And then I got 2 books of poetry by Sharon Creech that match. I love it. Printed hardcovers. So I'm not sure which one comes first. I think Hate That Cat and then Love That Dog. I'm not sure the order of them, but yeah, these are just books of poetry for children. So I'm looking forward to those. I've also heard that these are great tools for teaching poetry to kids. So I think there will be some fun, different types of poems and things like that in them. So I'm looking forward to those. I've heard about Al Capone Does My Shirts Off and On. This is by Jennifer Choldenko. I've heard about this book off and on over the years and never really was totally convinced to pick it up until our reading retreat that we did in the summertime with the besties that we hosted. And this kept coming up, or someone brought it as their recommendation or something. I forget which one, but it's a historical fiction about a kid who lives at Alcatraz when Al Capone is there. So it takes place in 1935. A 12-year-old kid, his dad or her dad, I'm not sure, works as a guard at Alcatraz and they live on the grounds. So I'm excited about that. Another historical fiction one. This won a Newbery Honor and it's by Avi, who has written a ton of middle grade books, but this one's called Nothing But the Truth. And Amy Bowman convinced me to pick this one up. She's Amy's Bookish Life. She came to our meetup on Saturday and we went back to the same used bookstore. So I didn't see this the first time, but Amy convinced me the second time I needed to have it. But in this one, we follow the story of a kid who, in his school, I guess they were supposed to be quiet and respectful during the Pledge of Allegiance, and he would say the Pledge of Allegiance during the Pledge of Allegiance on the announcements or something. And he got sent to the office for it multiple times. And if you get sent to the office a certain number of times, then you get suspended. And so he got suspended for basically saying the Pledge of Allegiance. It became a national news story. Outcry was huge. What was really going on? Is there more to the story? I don't know, but I just think that sounds really good. So grabbed that one. I think it was Amanda that put both of these in my hands. Sparrow Road by Sheila O'Connor. She is the same author of Until Tomorrow, Mr. Marsworth, which I absolutely love. So I don't even know what this is about. It's a pretty little cover though. Sparrow Road. Let's see. It's the summer before 7th grade. 12-year-old Rainey O'Rourke's mother suddenly takes a job hours from home at mysterious Sparrow Road, a creepy, dilapidated mansion that houses an eccentric group of artists. While Rainey's mother works as the cook and housekeeper, Rainey is left to figure out why she and her mother have really come to Sparrow Road. So she makes a new friend while she's there, and there's this mystery of what is really going on. So sounds cute. And then this Lost Track of Time is a beautiful hardcover. It does have a lot of illustrations throughout, some full page ones as well. Again, I don't really know anything about this except that Sarah said that her daughter, Kaylin, this was her favorite book for a long time. So I'm like, oh, I like that. I like the sound of that. Penelope is running out of time. She dreams of being a writer, but how can she pursue her passion when her mother schedules every minute of her life? And how will she ever prove that writing is worthwhile if her mother keeps telling her to get busy and be more productive? Then one day she discovers a hole in her schedule, an entire day completely unplanned, and she mysteriously falls into it. What follows is a mesmerizing journey through the realm of possibility where Penelope sets out to find and free the great moodler, the one person who may have the answers she seeks. Fun. That sounds super cute. Then I picked up The Egypt Game by Zilpha Keatley-Snyder. This is one of the books, I believe it was a banned book. This was one of the books that was talked about in Ban That Book by Alan Gratz. I have never read this one before. It's a little bit older and is a Newbery honor. It's about these two girls who learn that they both have a love for anything to do with ancient Egypt. They stumble upon a deserted storage yard behind the A to Z Antiques and Curio Shop, and they decide it's a perfect spot for the Egypt Game. Before long, there are 6 Egyptians instead of 2. After school and on weekends, they all meet to wear costumes, hold ceremonies, and work on their secret code. Everyone thinks it's just a game until strange things begin to happen to the players. Has the Egypt Game gone too far? I love it. And then I grabbed this book by Catherine Applegate, Home of the Brave. I love Catherine Applegate's Wish Tree, and she's written Crenshaw and a couple other books of hers that I have and I'm ready to read. So I'm excited to have another one by her. Those are my middle grade. The last little pile of books that I have here are just a mishmash. Some historical, some contemporary, some parts of series. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's a thriller in here. There's a Christian fiction in here. It's a little bit of everything, as per usual with me. So I have this Seven Sisters book. This is The Shadow Sister by Lucinda Riley. I do own, I think, oh, they're right here. I don't know if you can see. They're just off camera. This pile right here is the Seven Sister series, but I don't own this one, The Shadow Sister. So that will go as part of that series. I think this is book 3. So that's great. I have book 2. Now I can head right into book 3 when I'm ready. I picked up Caroline by Sarah Miller. This is a retelling of Little House from the mother's perspective. Caroline is the mother. Matches my shirt. I'm excited for that. I did grab a thriller, The Last Flight by Julie Clark. I believe this is about 2 women who decide to take each other's flight, and then one of those planes goes down or something like that. Sounds like a book I don't want to read when I'm about to get on a plane. But I think Lindsay had read that one and said that she liked it and that it wouldn't be too scary for me. I picked up another historical, The Girls with No Names by Serena Burdick. This takes place in the early 1900s, and we follow sisters Luella and Effie, and they're pretty wealthy young women, and when they discover some kind of secret about their dad, the older sister Luella decides she's going to just do whatever she wants, but her rebellion comes at a cost, and one day she just disappears. And so Effie has to track her down, and she learns that her dad sent Luella to the House of Mercy, and hatches a plan to get herself committed in order to save her sister. But she made a miscalculation, and with no one to believe her story, her own escape seems impossible unless she can trust another girl named Mabel. So as their fates entwine, Mabel and Effie must rely on their friendship to survive. Sounds pretty harrowing. I grabbed this to read in October, actually. I didn't put this on my October TBR, but I think Katie and I are going to read this together in October. The Orphan of Salt Winds by Elizabeth Brooks. It does not look like a Gothic tale, but it says that it's a Gothic tale. A beautifully written, atmospheric novel reminiscent of Jane Eyre with its wild, bleak setting and house full of mysteries. Bewitching and haunting. That's from Eowyn Ivey, who wrote The Snow Child, which I loved. Almost all of the blurbs on the back say something about it being Gothic tale, atmospheric. Like Daphne du Maurier, it conjures up a place and a time and a story that are unforgettable. So it does feel very appropriate to read in October. I don't think this is middle grade. Or it might be YA. I don't know. But I'm keeping that out so I remember I want to read that in October. The Christian fiction that I grabbed is by Tessa Afshar. It is A Harvest of Rubies. And it's a retelling, it's a biblical retelling of Nehemiah. The prophet Nehemiah's cousin has been catapulted to the center of the Persian court, working long hours, rubbing elbows with royalty, and becoming the queen's favorite scribe. So it's about being a woman in a man's world, the cousin of Nehemiah, so it's set during biblical times, Old Testament times. I have read another Tessa Afshar book before, and I really liked it. I think the one that I read was about Rahab, so I'm excited to try another one by her. I do have a YA called Punching the Air by Ibi Zoboi with Yusuf Salam. He's one of the Exonerated Five. So Ibi Zoboi has written a couple books that I've read and really enjoyed, and this is her newest. I believe it came out last year. In this one, it's written in verse, so it's all poetry in here. And we follow a young man who was an artist and a poet, but he gets caught at the wrong place at the wrong time, sadly, and gets in a fight, I think, with one of his friends or something like that. And at 16 years old, he is convicted of a crime that he did not commit. He's sent to prison, and in prison, he has only his art to rely on. He becomes a prison reform activist. Oh no, Yusuf Salam is a prison reform activist. They tell a moving and deeply profound story about how one boy is able to maintain his humanity and fight for the truth in a system designed to strip him of both. It just sounds like a very important read for these days that we live in. So I'm excited to read that one by Ibi Zoboi. I wonder if I should try to find it on audio. But I like that it's going to have art as a focus. I always love art in books. Anyways, I just saw this book on Chantel's channel. Chantel Reads All Day. Hood by Stephen Lawhead is a fantasy. This is the first, I believe, in a trilogy or in a series. I'm not sure how long the series is, but it's kind of going to be a retelling of Robin Hood. My brother has read this one and really enjoys it, and I think it's a Christian author as well. So I'm just very intrigued by that, and it does look very fall. I don't think I'm going to read it in October, but I was excited to find it. And then finally, I have a book that's been on my want to read list on Goodreads for a very long time, and that's Unmarriageable by Samaya Kamal. And this is a Pride and Prejudice retelling in Pakistan. And I love books that take place in the Middle East. I just find it so interesting. Oh, that's funny. It freaked me out. I have the dust jacket on upside down, so when I open it up, it's all upside down. Kind of switch that around. Yeah, I love books that take place in the Middle East. I just think their culture is so, I love learning about a culture that's so different from my own. And so I'm excited for this Pakistani version of Pride and Prejudice. Should be really good. And that is it. I do have just a few, if you watched Lindsay's video of favorite things, I have a new book sleeve, which is super cute, and a few fun things from the girls. So I have some Papermate Flair pens, which are the best, as well as these dot markers, clean color dot. It's like a 4 marker set that on one end can make a dot, and then on the other end, you can't really see, but on the other end, it's a fine liner. So I think those are super cool. I really am excited to use those. And then also this meal planning sheet that has magnets so it can go right on my fridge. Looking forward to using that. Fun, fun. So those are just a few extra bonuses. We did a favorite things. We each brought something for the others. I have a water bottle too that's not in here from Amanda that I love. And that is it. Quite a few. Oh, I can also count this one. I'm adding one more because Melinda sent Sarah books for all of us. And I left this in my car, so it didn't come on the trip with me, but it is from the weekend. So I will include Becoming Jane Eyre by Sheila Kohler. This is just oh, there's a bookmark in here too. Pretty. This is just a Jane Eyre retelling, and how a beautifully imagined tale of the Bronte sisters and the writing of Jane Eyre in 1846. So thank you, Melinda, for that little treat as well. I forgot to add that to the stack. Okay, now that for real is it. I'm going to stop. I do have a couple things that have been sent to me, but they're not from the weekend. So I will include them in my vlog coming up over the weekend, which I think you'll see before you see this. But yeah, that is plenty. I'm very excited and eager to add these, find room on my shelves for all of these books. There's quite a few here. I'm going to add them in Goodreads first. Let's chat down below. Did you see any books here that you think I should move to the top of my TBR? Any that are on your TBR as well, or that you'd like to add to your TBR? Are you a fan of thrifting? I mean, who can not be a fan of thrifting? I think there's a whole separate hobby of book acquiring and book reading. I have both, which is a great combination. Let's chat down in the comments below. You guys know I always love talking with you down there. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me today during this video. I really appreciate you being here, and I look forward to talking with you in another video very soon. Bye.